Okay, we're here in Maryborough and we have our first domestic terrorist. Who have we got here? What's your name?
Steve Parker.
Now, Steve Parker, what are you doing standing up against the narrative? How'd you get into it?
A long time ago I looked into the banking system back in the 80s when it was running around 23% on our home mortgage, and my wife and I were, my wife and I were fighting over it and how we got...
Wasn't that the Keating said what do you call it? The recession we had to have?
Yeah, that's right. But anyway, because I'm just a construction worker and farm contractor and that, I didn't know anything about banking, so I made an effort to look into banking and then learn about how money's created, reserve banking, fractional reserve banking, and took the journey from there. And then that took me into constitutional law later on, back in the 90s, when Howard took our firearms off us and fought against a lot of that. And
so you were against the buyback, or it wasn't buyback, you just handed them in, didn't you?
No, it was a buyback, buyback. We did get paid, but also against the GST too, saying there was two taxes in one and they ignored the Constitution there, and sort of started the fight from there, long ago. Yeah.
So when COVID happened, you were sort of prepared for it? You had your defences up?
I believe the story that the government told us in the first place, and probably the first to go and mix up my own hand cleaner and everything else, and then looked into it a bit more and poked around and find the story's not quite right.
Has a few holes in it?
Has a few holes in it, and then because I've been involved in constitutional law and a lot of people were losing their jobs, and it didn't matter whether it was federal or state, opposition or those in power, every one of them was breaking the laws on the Constitution regarding quarantine and lockdowns, and all the rest of it was, why should I go by law if all our so-called leaders are just flatting it and locking us down and everything like that? So
tell us the story about how you wanted to know whether we were corporate or still republic, under the Queen, and how you got that, what you got from that. Where would I start? A lot of people looking at it at the moment, whether we're under the Queen of Australia or under the Queen of England or... Queen of Australia, who's she?
A fiction created on paper, basically. Yeah, no such thing. But it was finding our identity and really who we... everything's locked up in our Constitution, and we're all under the preamble of the Constitution. We're all kings and queens that agreed to give a little bit of power to a few people to administer the country for us, and that was all we gave them. That's the 135 points in the Constitution, and but we're not being administered under the Constitution, and they're applying statute corporate law to us, the living people, and we've just got to understand that we're the living, we're the kings and queens, we're servants to our own fellow man, but we're also slaves under bondage, because we've delegated a little bit of our power to other men to rule over us.
You actually got some evidence from the Attorney... Was it the Attorney General?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I queried the Attorney General regarding the Commonwealth of Australia.
By correspondence?
By turning up into my parliamentary representative office every fortnight for around 18 months. Because they dodged, ducked and weaved, and so it was correspondence turning up there, and when they realised I was sharing it, they stopped doing it electronic sharing and started doing it by mail, which suited me fine too. And
when you said you turned up, would you hang around for a while, just wanting someone to talk to you, or what would you do?
I'd go into my representative at the time was Dan Tehan, and the federal elected, partly here, mainly in Warrnambool, but I never ever did get to meet the man after
18 months.
After 18 months, for some reason, I think he might have wanted to avoid me. But he was also Minister for National Security at the time. So, and I've considered it a national security issue. Are we being governed by a private corporation registered in Washington, D.C.? So, and if so, who do we pay our taxes to? The private corporation, or is it going to the de jure government? After 2 years and going to the Constitutional Department of the Attorney General's office, I received a letter out of them which basically it was the advice they were given to George Brandis, the Attorney General at the time, and saying this can be forwarded on to me. And yes, they are operating as a corporation. And
that's what the letter actually said. They actually admitted it.
They actually admitted it. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And they gave a reason for it, and it was for disclosure of trading purposes, disclosing public assets and liabilities. They had to, but that's actually already covered under our constitution.
Yeah.
And also the logo on the top of there was the kangaroo and the emu, which is a corporate trademark registered over there. And so it was, straight out black and white evidence for us. And seeing it's a corporation registered in America, it comes under the Clearfield Doctrine, which was a Supreme Court case back in 1943, which once a government is promoting and operating and trading as a business, they're no longer a government.
Yeah.
And also in particular, once they produce their own script or corporate currency, which here in Australia is the Australian dollar, so it takes us back to 66, they are a private organisation. And basically that's what they are, a private organisation run by the banks. And so every...
Do you think most Australians suspect this or know this, or do you reckon they're ignorant?
Ignorant to it.
They care?
I think a lot would care if they knew, but most people don't. So we're doing a promotion at the moment for Voice of the Constitution to let people know just what their rights are. Yeah. And it's not being administered as per the Constitution.
Yeah.
It's...
Because there's talk. I've been talking to Indigenous leaders, and they're saying that the voice, they believe, is a way for the government to circumnavigate the Constitution on everything.
The Aborigines are 100% correct. And part of what's coming out at the moment is the splitting of the peoples between the original people and... it's a divide and conquer mechanism, really, and under the Constitution we're all one, and that's what the Aborigines are saying too. We're all one, and I shouldn't call them Aboriginals because they are the original people.
Yeah. You like that word, the originals.
But in law, these lawyers of the past thought if they could call them Aboriginal, ab being absent original people, so if there's no original people there, they can impart their law over all of us. So really they're original people. Where else do you find Aboriginal around the world? You don't.
So you're fighting this fight, and you got the evidence to prove your point.
We have all the evidence in law.
Yeah. From your family for going against the narrative?
Yes. They probably, how would you say, they believe and not prepared to entertain the thought that I might not be a tin hat conspiracy theorist.
Can I ask though, what is it about this particular issue now, COVID, apart from anything else, that you get ostracised? Where before you were allowed to have a different opinion, wasn't an issue. Fort Holden, different footy teams, Republican. Even another thing was Azaria Chamberlain, was she guilty or not? The country didn't actually divide and separate families, but for some reason now, if you disagree with the government, you're cast out.
Totally in that respect, because I think all this challenges that are coming up regarding COVID and everything like that have woken a lot of people up to really the world that we're in. And when we're living in a paradigm where everything seems to be true, I refer people to the movie The Matrix or Alice in Wonderland Down the Rabbit Hole. It's a paradigm shift in your mind that if the world's not exactly as you were taught and brought up. The Constitution was taught in our schools up to about 75 and then dropped out, or even before that. And so when we're not aware, and we've been deliberately brainwashed over generations, really, to really know who we are.
Yeah.
And we are. And judges, lawyers and all the rest of it, a lot of them make a lot of money out of the system, so they don't want change. So there's...
Why bite the hand that feeds?
That's right. So some will want change, some won't, and some are not even aware and happy to be in the world that they're in.
So how do you think we change it and go back to a country where it's actually our country, where we're not under a corporation, we're not slaves, we're actually our country again, we're free citizens?
We can be free up to a point. The common law movement are pushing to be just all live as sovereign, independent people, or the Aboriginal movement, the original people under their own laws. That's fine, but we've still got to build roads and bridges and communicate and communications and phones and electricity and water and all that. The Constitution was set up as a contract. A lot of people don't realise it's a contract. So it was a contract where we could appoint some parliamentarians and ministers to advocate, to administer for the common good. Roads, rail. We used to have our own electricity commission. That's been sold off. That was a people's asset.
So, I was at one of Bossy's speeches, and he said something beautiful in this speech. He said, the Constitution was written to protect us from ourselves. And now they seem to have circumnavigated it. And what it was there to protect, they seem to have got round it. And now we're living under their rule, their tyranny.
Until we wake up and have a look, that's going to happen. And I've been at this a long time, and I look at it like two guys sitting on the back porch having a yak and a beer, and the dog's lying on the ground there in front of them, and on the back porch, and every now and again the dog gives a bit of a yelp, and mate says, "What's wrong with the dog?" "He's lying on a nail." And well, why didn't you get up? "Oh, not hurting enough yet." The people aren't hurting enough yet, and I thought with COVID and all the lockdowns, and Melbourne being the biggest lockdown city in the world, people might start hurting enough yet. I don't know what it's going to take.
Well, we're looking at the ANZ stopping us using cash now. They're getting rid of cash. They measured that yesterday, or they announced that yesterday. And there could be real mortgage stress coming. I've been talking to people that their mortgages have doubled. And so do you think maybe if people start losing their houses, that maybe they might arc up?
I'm hoping so, yeah, I'm hoping so. And the biggest threat I see at the moment is this backwards attempt to bring in the voice of Parliament. And because Albanese's setting it up so that the original people won't get a say. He's the one that's doing all the delegating, who it can be there, and basically it'll be bringing in a republic in disguise. If people can make themselves aware of the Constitution, which is not being administered as it should be, your rates should be paid. Local, so we're doing. Whatever else they've been used on.
Pepper spray.
Right. But there is movement in the country regarding that, just sticking your own boundary. For instance, my cat registration came due the other day. It's in 1988, we had a referendum, no third tier of government. The 89 Local Government Act was brought in, disregarding the people's voice. And I don't need to pay cat registration under the Constitution. I don't have a contract with them. It's simple, no consent. I've got a birth certificate that says when my contract started. That's who my contract's with, the Commonwealth, the people. They're all private corporate organisations.
Now, what is it that keeps you fighting? I know you've got, you said some family duress stuff, and what keeps you going? What gets you up and keeps you fighting? Because so many other people are quitting.
My grandkids. My grandkids don't know. No, it's me. Yeah.
It's him.
Yeah. It's the... I can't seem to get the message through to my ex-wife and family, kids, but I've got a new family now, and people like yourself and all the others that are gathered around here today. I've felt for a long time like I was part of the generation that dropped the ball, and there's no future. They're just going to be corporate slaves for the grandkids. So that's who I'm fighting for, and try and wake everyone else at the same time. Yeah.
Anything else you'd like to say?
Probably covers it pretty well. Yeah.
I'll give you one challenge then. Look into the screen, and this will probably reach maybe 4, 5, 6 hours, but you never know. And so send a message to Australians, or even the Prime Minister, but probably he wouldn't listen, but send it to Australia.
Regarding the voice of Parliament, vote no. Vote no, and get yourself a copy of the Constitution and read it. And
it's time we stop. Yeah, what's that sound? Everybody look what's going down.